Alright, here we go. Hey Evie. I decided to make a really short video for you just to show you what I usually do with audio. First off, I'm going to show you how it sounds
I also think an intersectional
before I
approach
do
would be
anything.
useful in this context. How many women of color have
If you're listening to this on headphones to kind of isolate out the room noises, or maybe in a room that your aquarium isn't in, you should be able to hear that and how it really interferes with the take. So to fix that, what you do is you select some quote-unquote silence in this case, since there isn't really technically any silence in it. Go into Effect. By the way, this is free software. Just so you know, Audacity, good stuff. You get the noise profile off of that. That tells it what to get rid of. Control A selects everything, and then go back into noise reduction and go down here to the bottom, hit OK. These are, as far as I remember, the default settings. So, boom. And generally speaking, if there's not a lot of background noise, this will wipe it out. But as you can see, I still don't have that really flat line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the profile again. And then I'm going to go back and go boom. Oh, oops. See, yeah, that's a pretty... That's what happens if you don't hit Control-All and select everything. But here we go. And let me show you what that crystal clear silence sounds like. And if you hear anything right now, it's my fans in the background.
There's nothing appalling or new about sex being the subject of art.
So, I only really do two things to fix audio. I used to do EQ, but honestly, I kind of like my voice the way it is most times. And EQing is really complicated and troubleshooty, so it's not something that I would recommend to someone who's kind of an amateur. And like I said, I don't use it myself. So let's go into the compressor. This is the second thing that I do. These are not exactly the defaults. I was reading that I think it's you want to go between 12 and between 10 and 16. I used to use 10. My buddy who's a producer professionally told me to use 12. After hearing some of my audio, go a little bit harder on it, or change the threshold up a little bit. If you go beyond that, you're going to cut a lot out. Let's just play around with the slider. You can kind of see how it changes the cut. But this is really just going to cut off some of the top end. And since it's compressing based on peaks, I think what that does is kind of normalizes the audio. And you're going to be able to see that in the recording. See, it didn't raise the level of any of the highest parts. It more raised the quiet parts to match them. And it also cut out a lot of frequencies that are recorded, but you physically cannot hear. And those kind of, even though you can't hear them, they do get played. They do take up space within the recording in a way. So this makes everything that you can hear clearer. And honestly, you really can't hear it all that well, but
There's nothing appalling or new about sex being the subject of art, and it's almost always a black.
you can hear how it's a lot better balanced. For me, this audio is a little bit loud, so I'm probably going to turn it down relative once I get it into the editor. But as far as everything goes, this is fine. And then when you export through this, I highly recommend using the insane settings, because these are really small files. It's not going to make it a whole lot bigger to turn up the quality. So just set that quality as high as you possibly can. And then boom. And also boom. If you want to add some tags, you can do that too. But I don't care. And that is how to fix common audio problems and get everything set up to sound really good. Again, like the only thing that I would really add to this if you really want to play around with it and look into it is using the equalizer, but that is honestly something that you have to study, and it's also something that is highly variable depending on what your voice sounds like and the properties of it, the properties of like the room you're recording in as well, and also what you want your voice to sound like. So it's not really something that I can necessarily give you tips on, or and it's definitely not something that I like to do for other people. I don't even like to do it for myself. So I definitely don't want to do it for other people who submit this kind of stuff. But there we go. Done. Dunzo.